When looking at your future, would you say you are very pessimistic, quite pessimistic, quite optimistic, very optimistic?
I'm very optimistic.
Very optimistic.
Yeah, very optimistic.
Very optimistic.
I feel quite optimistic. I wouldn't say very optimistic because you have to have a bit of reality.
Yeah, I think quite. I'm hopeful more than optimistic.
I'd be quite pessimistic as well because you don't really know what the future holds for you. You don't know what's going to happen.
Time travel frightens me. The future and the past are scary.
I hate when
them.
some people I know will be like, I'd say they're pessimistic, like, no, I'm just realistic. That is one of my pet peeves. I hate that.
Somewhere between quite and very optimistic. I don't see the point in being pessimistic about it because then what do you have to look forward to?
Lately, I would say very optimistic. I think that's changed again just because when he's working, he's fairly steady with our income and money, and thank God. So I'm optimistic. The world is my oyster. I don't like oysters.
I'm going to go with quite optimistic.
Yes.
Because I'm not very optimistic that an acting career is going to happen. I could go down the fucking Swanee.
I'd be quite optimistic with, but at the same time knowing full well that I'm going to do everything I can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm an optimistic 99 with a sprinkling of pessimism right there.
Yeah.
Healthy pessimism.
Healthy pessimism.
It is daunting. I think once you leave education, you leave that safety net. You can't hide behind being a student anymore. It stops being an excuse. You have to just be an adult and be active and do what you got to do.
Whatever things you have to think, positive. You can't think, I can't do it or I won't do it or else you'll never do it. You have to believe in yourself and think you would definitely do it, and then, you're more likely to get there.
Are your parents anxious about your future? Probably. My mom is always anxious about me, so.
I think my mum is just in a general mammy worry way, but I think she knows I'll land on my feet no matter what I do.
I guess they would have been anxious whether we build a house or are we going to buy a house or, where we're going to have our roots and stuff like that. But
anxious that we weren't totally buried in debt.
Yeah.
It'd just be normal to worry about your child's future. Like, me personally, I think I will worry about my child's future. I look at my little brother and I worry about his future, and he's only my brother. Do you know what I mean?
Not anymore, no. I don't really know if they ever were. They probably were when I was in school, because I was just so miserable and so bold in school.
I would say yes. There's sort of a healthy parental amount of anxiety there, because I'm not fully sure exactly where I'm going, and because of that, neither are they.
I think they trust that I make good decisions, so I don't think they'd be anxious in the sense that they think I would do something completely reckless.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a small bit towards the money side of it, for college, but other than that, I'd say they're okay.
I think it's terrible the way you have to take out a loan. You're starting your work in life, then paying off a loan.
Paying back.
I just think it's stupid.
Well, I finished college, I'm married.
Finished college, has a job, is married. 3 things that parents think like, once the child is born, Pakistani parents start thinking about, like, where are we going to put him to school? What job is he going to get? Where will we get him married? 3 things. And once they're gone, then, he's off the radar, the next sibling.
Yeah.
The next sibling.
I mean, it's still a concern for them because my wife's not here. So they would be worried, but not so much.
Yeah, but once they start living together, then the next is when is the child coming?
Yeah.
My parents aren't that young, so, if I was to ever have children, like, I don't know if they would be around. So I don't know if they're, like, curious as to what might happen. I don't think they're anxious.
Yeah.
But I'd say they're curious.
Compared to your life, you feel like your children's future is going to be
better overall, worse overall, or similar?
I'm going to make it better.
Better. Gonna make a change. Gonna make a change.
You can only say similar.
I wouldn't mind if my children had my life, like. I don't think I would anyway. With a grand life.
Probably better. If I were to have kids, I should hope a lot of things have improved.
I'd like to think that I will be able to provide a better childhood for my daughter than I had. I'd like to think that I'd be able to offer her more than I had when I was growing up. And I know my mother worked very hard for what she gave us. My parents worked. They gave us everything they could.
I think we've made so many social advances over the last 5 or 10 years, especially in Ireland, that young people being born today and in the future will be brought up in a much more open and tolerant and accepting Ireland.
I don't know. I think in some ways, I mean, they'll have a lot more opportunities, but I think the future children socially and their childhoods aren't going to be as good as ours were.
Sometimes I think it's going to be worse overall. I dread to think Molly becoming a teenager. I just think there's so much more pressure growing up with all the social media that's going to be around her, and I shudder at the thought of it, actually.
I suppose you'd want to say better overall. I don't know who would be knocking at my door. I'll go find out.
Compared to your parents' lives, you feel like your future is going to be generally better, generally worse, similar. I'd say similar.
Better. Generally better, yeah. Because, I got to stay in education, unlike my mum. She had to drop out and start working.
Like, my mum started working when she was 14 years old in a sewing factory because there was no kind of option for education. So I feel my future is going to be better, but it is thanks to my parents that it is going to be better.
Much better, I think, generally better, yeah.
Being actually better.
Similar enough.
Generally better, I would say, because they just saw tough times,
It's like one of your goals. You want to do well, do better, make them proud.
More than likely similar. I'd say like the bridge between similar and better.
I can't say better because for my parents' lives, I know they had, to me, such a horrible childhood, no money growing up, and then all of a sudden
they had money.
They'd seen the difference between being really, really poor and then being able to afford anything they ever wanted within reason. You know what I mean? And I think they've seen a huge change, whereas we probably won't see. We wouldn't have seen that. You know.
Generally better. I mean, my parents divorced and my mum had to come back to Ireland from America. Bless her.
My dad had a brain hemorrhage when I was 10. So that changed life quite a bit. And I remember Mum saying that at the time, can't you realise everything has changed? But at the same time, I was 10 when it happened. So I hope it's similar. I hope so. Anyway, I mean, they're still ridiculously happy together. His parents are still ridiculously happy together. So I hope it's the same. Together.